Very nice.
Why can't I figure these things out? There we go.
30 seconds, 30 seconds. Ten seconds to intro, 10 seconds to the intro.
Real estate talk is provided for general information only and should not be treated as a substitute for professional advice. Please consult your trusted financial advisor, real estate professional, or attorney before making any real estate or financial decisions. Please remember, when following advice, your results may vary, and all information covered here is not intended to cover all aspects of the subject material, but rather a sample of issues the hosts and guests consider important. And now, Real Estate Talk with your host, Victoria Rivadeneira. Each week, Victoria gathers some of the best minds in the business to provide both professionals and non-professionals with the inside tips and tools to make smarter deals. Whether you're a buyer or seller, Real Estate Talk will give you the competitive advantage you need. And now, here's Victoria Rivadeneira.
Thank you and welcome to Real Estate Talk. If you're a buyer or seller, over the next hour you're going to get unbiased information from top experts to help you make better decisions. We live video stream on Facebook.com/Victoria RIVA and at YouTube at Real Estate Talk. Please remember to like our Facebook business page at RE Talk and visit our website at retalkradio.com. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira, and I've been in the real estate industry for about 25 years. I'm a New York State licensed real estate broker, a New York State certified instructor, and I'm also a business development officer for one of the largest and most well-respected title companies in the world. But today, I am your host at Real Estate Talk, and I'm here with my co-host, Tony Mazzulli, aka The Big Deal. How are you today, Tony?
Doing great. Excited for today's show.
Ah, me too, me too. I do want to let everyone know a little bit about your backgrounds, and I know that you are a commercial director for a very large franchise brand. Yep. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how many years have you been doing that?
About 12 years now.
Awesome.
So, since I was 5.
Since you were 5. Alrighty. See, I tell everyone I'm older, so they say, "Wow, you look great."
Of course. That's
so
true.
Now, at this point, you look pretty old.
Yeah. It kind of backfired on me. I
Yeah,
guess,
a little bit. But we do have a very full house here today.
We do.
Why is that? There's a lot of testosterone in this room.
There is. I'm feeling it.
We need some women.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Are you scaring all the women away again?
I don't know. I think I'm attracting them. That's what I've heard through the
Well,
Facebook
you're not
comments.
attracting them here in this studio.
Well, on Facebook, that's all that matters, right? Is Facebook.
This is true. Facebook is the world, right?
Of course. No, but we definitely have a full house. And of course, each week we bring a different topic. We bring special guests in. But this week, we're introducing a whole new segment, which I'm really excited about. It's called the Legal Corner, where we bring in a top attorney to give their legal perspective on the topic of the day. So today, we have Lior Aldad from New York City. So welcome, Lior.
Hello there.
So we're excited to have you here. But before we introduce you, we want to introduce our, of course, topic for the day. The topic is real estate finance with our special guests, Jim Flaherty and E.J. Gilbride from Meadowbrook Financial Mortgage Bankers Corp. So guys, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're really glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us. I know you came quite a long way to get here.
We really appreciate WOR letting us come on.
Oh, absolutely.
We're excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're excited too. So I have a question for you. I'm gonna jump right in. Listen to me. I'm gonna jump right in. Okay. I'm gonna jump right in and ask you about the mortgage industry today. I mean, we all know that we recently went through the worst economic downturn that we've experienced in this country since the Great Depression, and things have really drastically changed. And my understanding is that there's a lot of misinformation out there for prospective buyers. What is going on? Where have we been and where are we right now? And is it better, worse? I want your perspective on that.
Well, personally, I think it's better. We've gotten away from the stated income, stated asset times, no money down. which created a whole inflationary cycle in the real estate market, which caused a collapse. Now, this common sense lending, although you have low down payment options, people have to work, they have to have their own money, they have to have good credit. And with that, the foreclosure rates have come way down. So I think we're in a much, much better environment today.
So back in the day, you just really needed a pulse and they would give you a mortgage.
Yeah, pretty much.
A pen and a napkin.
There you go.
And that was created by the bigger banks in Congress. It wasn't created by the mortgage brokers and small mortgage bankers, who
Right.
eventually got the blame for it.
And a lot of people really did get very hurt.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's really a shame what happened. So where are we right now? You're saying that now things have changed. They actually do have to have a job. They do have to have, good credit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean,
can they get a mortgage though? Because a
getting
lot
a-
of people are saying it's hard to get
I
a
think
mortgage.
getting a mortgage is easy. When I first got into the business back in '86, getting a mortgage was much harder. The debt ratios were much tighter. The down payment requirements were higher. They've gotten to a point now where you have your FHA loans with 3.5% down. Your credit has to be okay, but not great. But you have to have a certain amount of income and show the ability to be able to repay the mortgage.
When you say your credit has to be okay but not great, explain that. What does that mean?
Well, there's different FICO requirements. Now, when you look at a bank, the best FICO score is 740 and above, gives you the best possible pricing and the best possible situation. But I mean, I've seen FHA loans go as low as 580, which is really not good credit. Your standard FICO score is usually about 620. Now, on FHA, the rates don't really get affected by that. So, in that, someone with that kind of criteria is better off taking that route.
So when you say with FHA the rates aren't really affected by that, with other programs they are?
Conventional, there's different hits for different FICO scores, loan to values, types of properties. There's a million and one things that can affect the rate.
Okay, so if someone has not so great credit, it would be wise for them to go to FHA?
Depending on the size of their down payment.
Ah, okay. Why is that?
Down payment on an FHA loan is minimal. It's 3.5% down. And the difference is the mortgage insurance. But the FHA requirements are a lot different than the Fannie Mae and the Freddie Mac, the conventional loan requirements.
Okay, so now you just raised two more questions. So,
Go ahead.
3.5%. Is it wise to put down a small amount and have a higher mortgage, or is it better to come in with a larger down payment and have a smaller mortgage?
Well, it feats everybody's purpose. Some people don't have that 20% to put down, but they have the affordability of having the flexibility of having that FHA option open to them, where they can get a lower interest rate. They do have to carry mortgage insurance.
That was my second question.
They're going to have to
mortgage
carry that for the
insurance.
life of the loan, but it enables them to get into a house at a low interest rate with and debt ratio requirements are exceeding, like back in the day, the old lending. There's requirements where you couldn't exceed a 40% debt to income ratio. Now we've seen FHA extended to 55. So you could have a little bit less income, afford the house, and get in with minimal money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you said that the mortgage insurance is for the life of the loan.
That's correct.
There was one time where once you hit 20% equity, that would go away. Is that not the case anymore?
That's conventional.
Ah,
Conventional,
okay.
you can get rid of it.
Okay.
But to answer your previous question, you're always better off if you can put down more money than less money, if you can afford to do it. Because the return on investment based on that is 11-12%. So if you can afford the 20% down, it's always a better option.
So it's better to put more down, but this is a really good option for someone who may be renting.
Correct.
And really doesn't have that down payment. We talked about that a little bit.
Absolutely.
Prior to you getting here, renting versus purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
Why would somebody want to purchase instead of rent? Because when you're renting, you really don't have the hassle of having to care for the house, and there's a lot less expenses. Why would somebody want to buy?
Well, statistically, I mean, on Long Island right now, I looked at the graph yesterday. The average rents on Long Island between $2,300 and $3,000 for a 3-4 bedroom house.
Tony, what are they here in New York City?
A lot more than that.
That sounds really nice,
yeah,
right?
You got a little studio for that.
So the house prices. But if you take in the tax advantages, the interest, the taxes, the PMI is all a tax deduction. If you factor that in, and again, I always say speak to your CPA. I don't want to give you tax advice because limited knowledge is very dangerous. But if you use a 28% tax bracket, you factor out that write-off, it generally is cheaper than renting the home. And the wealth creation on homeownership is so great. It's probably most Americans' biggest asset.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think real estate creates wealth, for sure. And right now, the market's going back up again, so we're seeing price increases, which leads me to another question for you. You know, we have a lot of wage growth going on right now, and that seems to equal price increases. We also see some rate increases as well, and that makes me worry about affordability. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that, even though the wages are going up, those rates are going up, and those prices are going up, how do they really get into something?
Well, rates are still historically
They are ridiculously low.
So, you know, when we saw the rates dip into the threes, it was almost unrealistic. So they have to level off in order to stabilize the economy. So, you know, if you're seeing a rate in the fours, you know, mid fours, it's historically low.
But there's still people that they could qualify on that 3 or 3.5%, and then as the rates are going up, it changes the qualification. So I'm concerned about, especially millennials that are looking in maybe urban areas because they like that walkability factor.
Right.
They feel like they're priced out now.
Well, I think the market's going to correct that eventually. It always does. It always does. I mean, once it gets to a point where people aren't willing to pay the price, it'll come down. Now, I think rates are still so low that it's not there yet. My first house, my rate was 10.5.
Yeah.
And I got a great rate at the time. But there's a lot of factors involved. You know, like the 5 boroughs have gotten very, very, very expensive. And
Very expensive.
people compare it to Long Island and think Long Island's real estate tax is too high. But if you really do the math, they're not, because of the city income tax. And the city real estate taxes have gone way up. And what you can afford to buy in Long Island is a much better house, or a bigger house. I shouldn't say better, I take that back. A bigger house that you can afford to buy, you know, in Queens, Brooklyn, or Manhattan.
Right. But now if you have a bigger house, you may have bigger property,
Mhm.
and you may have bigger property taxes,
Carrying costs also.
carrying
You
costs,
get
right?
into consideration
Right.
of carrying costs.
Maintenance.
What about a product that's 80-10-10 that used to be very popular back then, where you take a 80% conventional loan, tack on a 10% line of credit, and then 10% down? You see that?
It is offered. It is offered as an 80-10-10. And we are seeing that it's becoming more common to avoid the MI insurance.
The PMI?
Yes.
It's not as big as it was, though. It was huge back before the crash.
Right.
It just started coming back into play within the last year or so.
Why is that?
Banks are starting to ease up a little bit. You know, they're experimenting with new guidelines, with new products. So that product was one of the products that came out to play. Hey, look, we're going to offer this 80-10, you know, and listen, the qualification purposes are still there. You still have to qualify for that loan. You have to qualify for that HELOC, and you still have to have that 10% of your own funds.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, but
Do you
before I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Before the crash, though, a lot of the financial people, when the market did crash, they were telling people not to pay their home equities often. Don't pay your home equity, because the bank had to foreclose on the first mortgage in order to foreclose on that. And you know, the houses were below market value, so a lot of people were just walking away from them. So the banks got very, very skittish on those for a very long time.
Okay, so that's why we saw that sort of
Yeah,
go away.
that's my opinion anyway.
Okay, and now it's coming back into the market.
Do you see light doc versus no doc loans versus full doc, full disclosure? Which ones are most popular right now lately?
The no docs don't even exist. I mean, they barely exist.
Right.
So
That's
explain what no documentation for the
No income,
buyer.
no income, no asset, compromised credit. But
Isn't that what got us in trouble in the
it
first
did,
place?
but they're only, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think they're only offered on investment properties. It can't be an owner-occupied property.
Okay.
Same with hard money. You can't get.
So they
those
are
funds
back. You can do it.
on a very, very, very limited basis.
There was I remember early on, there was a thing called stated income.
Mhm.
Now, how does that work? Is that still around? No?
barely.
Barely.
You know, and again, what Jen, to touch on Jen's point, they're only doing them on investment properties to avoid certain regulations, but it's a difficult, you know.
Or commercial product.
It's a difficult product.
In reality, a lot of it's fraud. If you're
Yeah.
stating an income, I mean, there's different reasons why you would state an income that's legitimate, whether it's be self-employed, you had a low income one year and a higher income the next year, you state the higher income. That isn't fraud. But for a lot of it, that's what it was in the past.
Yeah.
And that's what created the issues.
Right. It was really meant for someone who's on commission based.
Commission based or get big bonuses or self-employed people that really made the money. And,
Seasonal.
Seasonal,
Yeah.
you know, not for the school teacher and police officer that are overstating their income to, you know, that they make combined $150,000 a year, and they're stating their income to be $500,000 a year to qualify for that $700,000 dream house that they want.
Yeah. And that's what was happening.
And that's what was happening.
It's a 1099 problem.
Also, the government, I think, in reality, if people wanted to buy a house, start declaring your income. So I think that was a big piece of it too. So now that if you can't hide cash anymore, it's almost impossible. And if you do want to buy a house and get ahead and do that wealth creation that the rest of America is doing, start declaring your income. I think that was the government's point.
Right.
Also.
Okay. I want to talk about pre-qualification and pre-approvals. There's a big difference between the two, and I don't think the consumer really understands what those differences are. Can you explain that?
A pre-qualification is qualifying a borrower. Okay, it's getting basic information and giving them a pre-qualification based on the information that they provided.
Okay.
A pre-approval is dissecting the loan, getting the information, the documents, the income, the assets, to make a clear determination whether that person can qualify for that loan.
So what someone really wants is a pre-approval, not necessarily a pre-qual.
I won't do a pre-qual. I mean,
Okay.
I look at their income. I'll go through the income to see what the overtime is, what the bonuses may be, if they've gotten raises. I look at the bank statements. If there's large deposits, we better source them. I look at the credit. You know, if the credit score needs to be a certain way, this is what we need to do. And based upon that, when they get a pre-approval letter from me, it's got debt ratios on there, it's got FICO scores, it's got the down payment. And what I do too is I further run it through what's called Fannie Mae DU to get a desktop
Explain
underwriting
that.
approval. Well, what you do is you basically create an application and you input the information into the Fannie Mae system, and the Fannie Mae system gives you what's called an approve eligible or
Ineligible.
a refer, yeah. So this way you know. So when I send a pre-approval letter, I attach it usually with a Fannie Mae DU approval, and I'm comfortable doing that because I've gotten the tax returns and I've gotten the pay stubs and I've gotten the bank statements. So I'm confident this is going to go through.
But
Right.
Let me ask you, how much leeway do you give yourself when you give somebody a pre-approval letter as to market fluctuation in terms of rate? So let's say you're going by today's rate, and the guy is definitely qualified, the guy is declaring everything and he's good to go.
Right.
However, he sits on it for 30 days or he sits on it for 2 weeks, and then the market changes. How long is your pre-qualification
Well,
good for?
I put the interest rate on the letter, and I put the debt ratios on the letter. So if the interest rate moves up and they don't qualify anymore, before they even go to contract, they know that there's a problem.
So should
We
some,
typically make them good for 30 days.
oh, they are lasting 30 days.
Yeah, we pretty much list them for 30 days. You know, that's the time frame where, hey, look, we could have a rate hike. You know, rates could come down, but we want to know, and pay stubs expire and stuff like that.
Right, so I had situations in the past where clients came to me and they said to me, look, I'm pre-qualified, I'm all good, and I should be able to buy this particular house, and then I look at the date and it's from last year or year and a half ago. And
Well, then you call the person who gave you the letter and ask them to update it.
right, so I always tell them, go back to
Yeah.
your whoever
Right.
produced it and then refresh your letter.
I have realtors ask me for letters for lower loan amounts. I'll have someone pre-approved for 400 and they're borrowing 350 and they want a new letter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it
why
is
do you
what it
think
is.
that is?
I don't know.
Oh, negotiations.
I don't know.
Tony?
Well,
you had
no,
something?
I remember a lot of agents in our office would say that, to say, look, show that, because any offers that were made would have to be accompanied by a
Right, that's
approval.
what I just said,
So
yeah,
so they would
negotiations.
just say, all right, look, we're approved for 350, so the other side, the listing agent, knows not to even try to negotiate more, because then they might not be approved and not have a deal. So it's a little strategy.
Uh-huh.
The misconception is people want to go out and look for houses. They're Saturday shoppers, Sunday shoppers. They want to go to open houses, so they want a pre-qualification letter, which they can just show to a realtor, because realtor's misconception is the same thing. All right, well, they have a pre-qualification. Then they can call the loan officer in the office and say, well, you issued this person a pre-qualification. They came to my open house. However, qualification. You know,
Right, it's not a pre-approval, it's a pre-qualification. Right, and everyone will tell you that they have the best credit in the world and they make the most money.
And you don't know.
Many times they'll call the bank directly and they'll just interview them over the phone, and they'll just give you a letter saying they're pre-approved. Now,
Well, you can do that on the internet.
I've looked at pre-approval letters,
Yeah.
and they're ridiculous. They're not even close to qualifying.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think that's definitely rampant on the internet as well. People are going on the internet, they're just getting information, they're getting whatever they need, and then when it's time to go ahead and really truly apply, guess what? They don't qualify at all.
The realtor's got to do their due diligence. You know,
100%.
many times realtors call me and they go through it with me, and I have the whole application in place so I can give them all the answers they need.
Yep, 100%. Well, thank you for all that information. We actually need to go to a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about those unexpected costs that are affiliated with the mortgage or associated with the mortgage, because there are quite a few of them that prospective buyers really don't take into account. And then we're also going to hear from our legal advisor, Mr. Lior Aldad.
Thank you.
I'm Victoria Rivadeneira, and you're listening to Real Estate Talk from New York's WOR iHeart Studios, and we'll be right back.
We're still.
What's that? We're still live. Victoria, you're going to bring it back, and then I'll... Yeah. And I'm going to... Perfect. Yeah.
I want to remind you to just try to, I can hear you, but it's better if you got a little bit closer.
Try to keep it a fist from your mouth.
He's good.
What about the book?
Oh, you have to ask a question. Well, when we go to the next break, before we go to break, ask a question. I'll send it to you. Ask a question. Tell them to put it on there.
Last weekend.
Actually, Leor, you can do it now. When he introduces you, and you tell about yourself, you can say, I'm an author, and we're giving away a free
more...
Come back in 30 seconds.
Go on and answer it. Whoever gets the answer first, we're going to send you one.
Jim is great at that.
Perfect.
But you have to, I mean, there's no discussion of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
per violation. Call now for your free credit consultation. 888.
Come back in 10 seconds. 8138.
That number again, 888-533-8138, or visit us on the web at betterqualified.com. For more real estate talk, download our free podcast at retalkradio.com. Now back to Victoria Rivadeneira.
And we're back. I'm here with my co-host, Tony Mazzulli, a.k.a. The Big Deal. Why do we call you The Big Deal, Tony?
I have no idea.
You
I'm
are
actually
so
a very
full
small
of
deal.
it. Come on, let us know.
No, because right now I'm in production for a real estate show. Similar to Million Dollar Listing, but it's strictly commercial. So if you see Million Dollar Listing on Bravo and those different types of shows, there's nothing that's really been made for commercial real estate. And we have some crazy stories in commercial real estate. So it's not just selling little apartments, we're selling whole apartment buildings with bigger egos, bigger commission checks, and bigger deals. So it's an exciting thing.
So you have a bigger ego and you make the big
I don't
deals,
have the
huh?
bigger ego, the owners have the big ego.
Okay.
Sometimes I do,
Good
sometimes
say,
I
Are
do.
you one of the agents in the show?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Superb. It's
Yeah.
a big headache, too.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so you're going to be one of the guys in Million Dollar Listing?
Well,
Except
the
for
big deal.
The
Yeah.
big deal. Okay.
He's
Yeah.
the big deal. The name
All
of
right.
the show is The Big Deal, so that's why I keep saying Tony Mazzulli. Tony, I said it again.
I know. it's
Tony
okay.
Mazzulli.
Are you going to be
aka
chauffeured
The Big
around
Deal.
in your Escalade and meet the clients
Yeah.
for dinners and stuff
He
like
does
that?
drive around in an
Yeah.
Escalade.
We have
Yes,
an
he
OCD
does.
driver.
We have an OCD driver, great.
All right, bring it back, guys. Okay, we're going to come back to Real Estate Talk. We are here today, and we are talking about what you need to know about mortgage lending. And I am here in the studio with Meadowbrook Financial Mortgage Bankers, and we also have Lior Aldad here as well.
So, Lior, I want to
Yes.
ask you a question. Right now, so say I'm a buyer. I'm looking for a $500,000 property. I put in my head, okay, I want to put 10% down. I have $50,000. Now, I get to the closing tables. What other expenses or things do I have to prepare for at a closing? Is it just that 50 grand, that 10% that I have to put down, or are there other expenses, other fees that I have to prepare for?
Well, I think it depends on what the product you're buying. If you're buying a house, real property, or you're buying a co-op apartment. So that's as a lawyer, I would ask you, what are you buying? And based on what you're buying, based on the product you are acquiring, your closing costs may differ. If you are buying a co-op apartment, let's say, in essence, you are buying shares of stocks of a corporation that owns the building, or it may be a land lease co-op, similar to the one on the Upper East Side, whereby the building is owned by the shareholders, by the corporation, but the land beneath it is rented, it's leased out. When you do buy a co-op, your closing costs are relatively inexpensive. You do not have, unlike when you buy a house or you buy a real property or a condominium, you do not have the customary title insurance. You do not have New York State mortgage tax, which I'm going to get into at my segment coming up. So your costs are relatively inexpensive. You will have the customary lien search, judgment and lien search, to make sure that there's no outstanding encumbrances against the apartment, against the shares of stock being acquired, making sure that you're buying it free and clear of all mortgages, judgments, mechanic liens, such. Closing costs are critical if you're buying from a sponsor versus a regular seller. When you're buying from a sponsor, you will pick up what is customarily paid by the seller, which is the city and state transfer taxes, if you're buying in New York City. Transfer taxes currently are at 1.825% in New York City, which is 0.4 for the state and 1.425% for the city. That's for transactions over $400,000. If it's below $400,000, then it's 1.4% combined, because the city transfer taxes are 1% in lieu of 1.425.
Wow, you know your numbers. So
yeah,
obviously
that was a lot of numbers.
You're a New York City attorney.
I am.
So
I have,
can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration, minor in finance and accounting, and I have my law degree in New York. I'm licensed in New York State and also in Washington, D.C. I am admitted to the courts of the Supreme Court, lower courts of New York, the Appellate Division, the Court of Appeals, the federal courts of the Eastern District and Southern District of New York, and also the U.S. Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. I have recently published a book called The Heal. It's an essential it's a document, it's a hardcover book, it's sold on Amazon.com. As a special promo, we are giving it away today to your listeners. When they ask a question, whoever puts on the right answer first will win a customized book autograph.
Yep.
Yes.
Nice. Are the hosts included in this giveaway?
No, the host.
Can we win?
Well,
Absolutely.
you'll have to go ahead and answer the
No trick
question
questions, though.
correctly, Tony.
Yeah,
If you
that's
can
it.
answer the question correctly,
All
you
right,
may be eligible to win the book.
Exactly.
And if you, once we hear the question, go ahead and post your answer to facebook.com/Victoria RIVA. We will have someone monitoring that, so go ahead and give us your comments or your answer. You have a question for everyone?
No, I just want to let you know that my law practice is called Aldad Associates. The website is aldadlaw.com. We are located in the Empire State Building and have been representing clients in the residential sector for the last 20 years.
Okay, so what's the question?
So, you ready? The million-dollar question is definition of SEMA, S-E-M-A. Who knows the definition of SEMA and how does it apply to mortgage tax?
Oh, that's a good
Do you want us to
question.
answer that? Or the
No.
Listeners
We
answer
want
that.
someone out there to answer the question. What is SEMA? I have a feeling before the end of the show we're going to answer that question, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Lior,
Yes.
you were talking about some of the unexpected costs, and you mentioned co-ops. And I know a lot of the consumers out there that are listening, if they haven't purchased real estate or if they haven't purchased a co-op, may not truly understand that a co-op really is not real estate, that they're actually buying into a corporation. So
Correct.
can you explain that?
Absolutely. So New York State defines well, let's go back to what co-op is. Co-op means that you're buying shares of stock of a corporation that owns or rents the land. It owns the building itself, and you are a shareholder. Pursuant to the offering plan, and which is filed with the Attorney General. The offering plan is a document under New York State real property law that gets filed with the Attorney General's office, and it converts the building into a cooperative corporation. You are a shareholder, and your advantage of buying a co-op is that your closing costs are relatively inexpensive, and aside from the time when you buy a co-op from a sponsored developer, you will always be scrutinized by a board, and the transaction is subject to board approval.
And that could be brutal at times, right?
Indeed, yes.
What is the process of going through that board approval?
Well, once we have a signed contract, you will proceed to apply for a loan and get your loan commitment. If you're buying all cash, that aspect is not applicable. And then you will submit a board application. You'll work with your real estate broker agent to submit a board application, and then you'll be called back to be interviewed. You will attend an interview. They will not allow you to interview via Skype or FaceTime or anything like that. You gotta come in and meet the board, be interviewed, and the board will decide if you're approved or denied. Now, you should know that the board's decision is very much subjective. with the exception of any discrimination rights, and if you feel that you've been violated due to the Fair Act.
Okay, very good. And let's talk about co-ops versus a condo, because there's buildings that are condominium, not necessarily co-ops. So let's explain what the differences are.
So the part of our work when we get retained by clients to acquire the real property or the apartment, we do what's known as due diligence. And part of our due diligence is looking at the house rules, the sublease policy, and the alteration policy. When you're buying in a co-op, you may be more restricted in terms of subleasing than when you buy a condominium. In a condominium, you actually own the apartment itself and a proportionate share of the common areas, which is called common elements, and that means the proportionate share of the ground beneath the soil or the proportionate share of the underlying ground lease. There's something called a leasehold condo, similar to Battery Park City, where the land is rented from the city to the owners of the building, and then there's something called a leasehold co-op, like I discussed before, where the shareholders are renting the land.
Okay, thank you for that.
So I'm going to throw a wrench in this whole conversation and bring in politics. Of course, our favorite subject. Want to get everybody's opinion on the new administration and the positive and negative effects that it's going to have on their real estate finance. I know he was talking about Dodd-Frank. There's a lot of things that are coming up. Want to see the negative and the positive effect of the new administration in your guys' opinion?
Well,
you know what? Before we go there, though, let's try to explain what Dodd-Frank is so that everyone understands. So, anyone want to take that, or you want to take it?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay.
Basically, the new regulations that were implemented recently after the 2008 financial crisis stated that there will be more, and there is more, consumer protections. Consumer protection could mean that the client will receive disclosures as to closing costs, and there will be much less surprises at the table. I remember stories where I had clients who did not know that they were paying a point. A point is a 1% of the loan in order to reduce the interest rate by approximately 1/8 customarily, and that could sometimes, if your loan is $500,000, then all of a sudden you come in and you see a $5,000 fee that you did not expect at the table, and then the clients look at me and I look at them and they ask me, did you see this in your commitment? Did anybody tell you anything about this? And the mortgage broker who sometimes attends the closing says, oh yes, don't you remember we spoke on the phone, I told you, and the client says, no, I don't remember anything like that, and then the client is stuck at the closing table between paying the $5,000 as per required by the lender, or forfeiting prospectively the down payment deposited to the seller, or paying any adjournment fees that the managing agents or the other parties at the table may charge. So, if you wanted to know my opinion, I'm very much for the protection of the consumer, protection of the individuals who don't know better than to have a situation of surprises at the table. So with the new regulations, it provides a 3 business days minimum by every bank to disclose ahead of time to the consumer what are the closing costs. If you should know that if the costs are not accurate, and there are surprises that in the contract were disclosed or was supposed to be paid, and the bank did not provide that information to the consumer, then the bank may be liable for picking up that particular cost for failing to disclose, and the negligence of the bank. I had a situation a few months back where the bank didn't realize that the buyer was paying the transfer taxes because the buyer was buying from a sponsored developer, and the CD, the closing cost, the closing disclosure was not accurate, and the client looked at me and I looked at them and I said, oh, I have a feeling that, I asked the client, did you provide the contract to the bank? And she said, absolutely I did. And I said, okay, so I guess they had to see it. We called the mortgage broker, and the mortgage said, yes, we dropped the ball here, and we will pay the $30,000 transfer tax.
Wow. So basically, the short Reader's Digest version of everything that Lior just said was that Dodd-Frank was originally put in place really to tighten the regulations and protect the consumer. So I want to go back to your question. What was your question?
Are there any positive effects? Now we got the negative effects.
Well,
Do you guys have any?
Well, I
input for
think it's
positive?
I think it's very positive, with the exception of the fees that are not customary. I mean, to miss a transfer tax, which is normally a seller's fee, that's not, in my opinion, particularly fair. But on the other side of it is, you're not competing with other bankers or brokers that are lowballing title insurance and different things that you would always try to give an accurate, accurate fees on. So 95% of it I think is great. I think it works, it's great, everyone's on a level playing field. But I think the uncustomary fees, the mortgage people, are not really, I mean, we do, I read the contract, so it doesn't happen to me. But the average mortgage person may not read them, and they don't know where to look for that type of thing. I mean, a builder will have the buyer pay the seller's transfer tax, and like you said, a sponsor will have them do it.
Right. I think a flip tax, which is
That's usually seller's tax.
usually
Yeah.
paid by the seller. Sometimes they try to negotiate it otherwise, and that could be a surprise to the bank when they're not used to the buyer paying for it, even if it was specifically negotiated.
So are there any positives to repeal the Dodd-Frank though from the Trump administration? Like where is his mind in doing that?
I think he wants to make Wall Street alive again and become more active and loosen the restrictions on Wall Street and the banking industry, which I agree. So we need to find a medium ground between protecting the consumer and having more activities, more lending, and
More
more
profit.
flow in the banking industry.
As long as you don't go back to the Wild West, though.
No.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree wholeheartedly. Like, there has to be a happy medium. We have to loosen up some guidelines in the banking industry. However, we also got to protect the consumer. The CD going out, that transaction, everybody's on a level playing field. So when that CD goes out, that's your closing disclosure. You're not going to a closing table and looking at a HUD for the first time. That was typically happening before Dodd-Frank and PRID and all this stuff came into play. So right now, at this point, everybody's on a level playing field. However, on the bank end, there's got to be a little bit more leniency to paying a $30,000 cost for missing a transfer tax on a contract is a big blow for a bank.
Absolutely.
And it happens more often. Tolerance cures now are the slightest. It could be on a title company. You missed, their fee was up a little bit and it was undisclosed. It's fully the bank's responsibility to pick up that tolerance cure. So there's got to be a little bit of relief on the bank. The consumer's getting what they want. They have 3 days to review their HUD, their closing package. They could bring that CD to their attorney and say, "This is what I was presented with," and they know what their transaction is going to be.
Right.
And before they even get to the closing, I know a lot of agents in my office. They're all residential agents in my office, and they were having a hard time with appraisals not coming in. How does that affect? I know after the Dodd-Frank,
You
there's a
had-
lot more restrictions on
You had the
it.
homeowners valuation code of conduct that was implemented by, I think, Governor Cuomo.
Mhm.
And the idea was there was so much fraud in the appraisal industry back in the day. Then they went over the top, and they had these appraisal management companies. And you would get appraisers, they'd have 60 or 70 appraisers. So I'm going to use Bayside, where I grew up, as an example. You could go to Bayside and go to one side of Bell Boulevard, and the difference in the value of the houses could be $200,000. So when you get an appraiser that comes down from Tarrytown, he has no concept of that area. So and I've had it work both ways. I've had Douglaston Manor where they've used comps up by the expressway, which are $300,000 differences, and I've had it work the other way where they've used comps from Douglaston Manor on regular Douglaston houses. So I think the old way, I mean, the banks are supposed to review these appraisals, and they always did. So I think the responsibility should lie on the bank's appraisal department, and you should have at least an appraisal group that you can use and rotate them. So at least they're familiar with the areas.
Yep, agreed. So basically what happened was they went from the wild, wild west to being extremely strict. It just went from one extreme to the other. And agree or disagree with the decision that President Trump is now trying to push forth. The concern lies with the fact that we don't want history to repeat itself, and we really do want the consumer protected, but we do need to loosen up some of these restrictions.
Correct.
But it did happen. I mean, back in 89 and 90, the same thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it all
Yeah,
over
with the
again.
whole savings and loan formula.
Yeah, no, it was the exact same thing.
Exact same thing. Yep. All right.
So I think now I don't want to bring up the same topic. It's millennials. Everybody's talking about millennials again, but I'm a millennial myself.
Are you a millennial?
I'm
I don't know if you're really a millennial.
I am. I'm 34. So I was born in 1982.
And that qualifies as a millennial?
Yes.
You don't act like a millennial.
I don't.
You act more like a baby boomer.
Really? That's not, I don't know if that's a compliment or what.
Yes, I'm a baby.
Well, actually, we have to go to a break.
Oh,
so we're going to come
all right.
back and talk about millennials.
Okay.
If you are tuning in right now, you can hear the entire show by going to our podcast found on retalkradio.com. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira, and you're listening to Real Estate Talk from New York's WOR iHeart Studios, and we'll be right back.
I thought we were going to break before that.
Dodd-Frank was like the last
So we're going over now?
No,
It's okay. Now we have to go back. It's okay.
All right.
It's okay.
And closing-
We roll.
closing costs.
Closing costs. Yeah.
It's okay. I'm okay with surprises.
All right.
Oh, no, you throw anything you want at me.
All right.
I smooth my way through it.
All right.
So we'll come back with millennials.
Yeah, we'll come back with millennials, and then I mean.
Is anyone answering our question?
I'm good.
Come back to millennials, and then how that affects them in purchasing, and then that's what you can segue.
Yeah.
How does it affect millennials to digest the cost of acquiring a piece of property?
Is that a
They can go
run first
lease a
buy
car,
question?
they can go buy a cup of
Is that kind of a
coffee.
run first buy question,
But-
I think?
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
Run for-
Yeah.
Not for the
So I'm
millennials.
going to kind of mention, because right now there's a new report that just came out. The average income of millennials.
Page 130 seconds. 39 Northern.
$38,000.
Yeah, that's terrible.
So I'm gonna hit that and then kind of segue.
Allow us to help you achieve your dream of homeownership.
And maybe come into promoting millennials to buy.
Yeah.
Spin.
Again, 631-478-2706. United Northern Mortgage Lenders Ltd. and an
7 seconds. 30 Equal housing.
and a licensed mortgage banker located at 3601 Hempstead Turnpike, Suite 300, Levittown, New York 11756, New York State Department of Financial Services.
retalkradio.com is your portal for cutting-edge information to give you an advantage in the competitive real estate market. Now, back to Real Estate Talk with Victoria Rivadeneira.
And we're back, and I'm here with Tony Mazzulli. I said your name right.
You did.
I did. And we have Lior Aldad in the house here.
Hello.
Yep, his name is much easier than Mazzulli.
It is.
And I'm Italian too, so I don't know why I'm having such trouble with
not
your
good.
name. I don't know why. It must be you. But we are here, and we are talking about real estate financing, and we have Meadowbrook Financial Mortgage Bankers Corp here as well. And you left us here talking about millennials because you just cannot escape that subject.
I love it.
Yep. Now I know why, because you are.
Because I am.
Yes, you are a millennial.
Yeah.
So you say.
Yeah. We'll check it. I'll show you my license.
All right.
But my question is, of course, millennials, they're the biggest generation ever, with 85 million. And right now, I just read a report the other day. It said the average income of millennials above 25, not considering 25 and below, the average yearly income is around $38,000, and their net worth is about $10,000. I mean, right now, when they come out of school, they're hit with all this student loan debt. They're hit with all these different things, and the job market for them right now is a little tight. But they all want to own, but a lot of them are renting now. Do you see, is there a benefit for them to just figure out a way to buy, or just keep renting?
No,
Me and Jim had this conversation at least once a week, and we spend about 2 hours on this topic.
they should definitely buy. Because if you look at, and again, I'm not a CPA, so I don't want to give tax advice, but if you look at the tax savings from buying to renting, and you look at the wealth creation, I'll give an example. You buy a house for $400,000. Let's use that as an example. It's on the low end. But from 96 to 2016, the average appreciation has been just under 6% a year. So we'll use 5%. That means that $400,000 house in 15 years is worth $800,000. Now, if they can put down 20%, which a lot can't, but a lot can. A lot of people get money from their parents and gifts and different things. They
That-
sort of
that's-
5,000.
But the gift, if I may, the gift aspect has a whole different tax issue from tax perspective. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm saying a lot of them
Right.
get gifts from their parents.
Yeah.
But even the ones that can only put down 3.5%, it's not when my parents bought a house, there's two incomes. And, 38,000, is that national or is that in the New York area?
That's national.
Yeah,
New
so
York, of course,
Yeah.
is
It's
higher.
probably a little higher. So let's
Yeah.
say you have an average of 45. So you have a couple that makes 90,000. A $400,000 house, if they manage their debt properly, is within their reach. Okay, if they don't have a lot of student debt and things like that, and that's a big if. But even that 3.5% down house, when you factor in all the tax benefits involved in it, is probably cheaper than renting, and they have the ability of wealth creation down the road. Because a house is utility. It's a place you need. It's shelter. So it's not like buying a stock. If you put 10,000 on a stock and it doubles, you have 20,000. You buy a $400,000 house in 15 years, and you have 800,000. So I think there's no question about it. You have to buy, and you have to figure out the best way to do it.
And I think a lot of them, because I'm seeing a migration from New York City, because their rents are, I mean, through the roof. I mean, for one bedroom, you're looking at $4,000.
Yeah.
So they, of course, moved to Brooklyn to try to get cheaper rents, but now Brooklyn rents are through the roof. They moved to Queens, the Queens rents are through the roof. And the average age of a millennial is actually 30 to 32. That's the biggest demographic of the millennials. And they're getting married at the age of 31. But of course, what happens when they get married? Typically, they're going to have their first child. Now, in New York City, of course, the private schools are very expensive. So they're almost going to be getting priced out of New York City, Brooklyn, and their only other option where the schools are, of course, included. They have good school systems, Long Island, Westchester. So we're seeing a big migration to the suburbs again. From these millennials, but now these suburbs weren't really ready for this migration. So now we're seeing a lot of development of these high-end rental buildings where you have high-end restaurants, you have like a live, work, play. So that's attracting a lot of the rentals because they're getting the school systems and they're not worried about qualifying for a mortgage. What we're noticing a lot is that they're worried about qualifying for a mortgage because they have that lower income. They don't have that net worth. Maybe their credit isn't as great because the student loan debt. Is there anything that, like a word of encouragement that you could give them to?
Like I tell my son, he's a millennial. He's 28. You don't need to go out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. He's got a pretty good income. He lives with his girlfriend. They make a pretty good, like I said, a pretty good income. Put your money away. But even if you can only put away $30,000, you can go to Long Island. You can go to decent school districts. And find an affordable house that is cheaper than renting.
Yeah, I agree. Leora, do you have any input on that?
I think-
Millennials? I mean, do you have a lot of clients that are millennials, or?
Yes, and the way they come to us is with parents buying for the kids, and then with time they transfer ownership. Or we have co-ownership, where you have a young couple and the parents are also on the deed or the stock certificate, and they're co-owning it together with the intent of one day transferring it to the child. And finally, we have a situation where the parents guarantee the loan. So you have children owning the apartment or the house, and the parents are the guarantors. So the qualification comes in for you guys, qualifying the parents as the actual holders of the note or the guarantors. So you get a level of comfort in the children have the asset and the depreciation of the name.
Well, the parents also go on the deed in that situation.
Right.
It's a non-owner-occupied co-borrower.
Right.
And you can record it based on percentages of different
Correct.
things.
We allocate percentage based.
But to jump back on the previous one, I mean, what everybody should do, especially millennials, if they're not sure, go out and get a pre-qualification. Sit with a mortgage professional, get it done. I mean, you can text me or email me, and I'll point you in the right direction.
Jim actually filmed a commercial, and we actually did a seminar for millennials, just on this topic alone. So
That's good.
we're
They
trying to
need
reach
that.
out. They need the education.
They absolutely need the education, and the millennials right now are entering the market more and more because they
Right.
are hitting that 35 mark, 34 mark, right? But they'll soon be 35, and that's usually the time when people are buying a house,
Right.
according to some of the research. So although a lot of people are saying millennials are not buying real estate, they are. And we're going to see it more and more. So the better we educate them, the better everything will be for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
It's my opinion. Do you want to hear my opinion? Let me tell you. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So I want to just take you back a little bit because we started to talk about some programs, and you mentioned FHA, but you didn't talk about 100% financing. There are some programs out there that do have 100% financing.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
VA is such a underutilized tool, and it's such a great product.
I agree. I have a client now, I don't mean to jump in, but I have a client now who's a veteran, and he's getting 95% financing, and tremendous, I'm such for it. It's such a nice product that he's getting. And I told him, I'm so proud of you, what you've done, that you served, that you're entitled to this, and take advantage of it to the max, because you are the people that it's geared to, and you have served us, and we're so grateful that we have this particular product. So go ahead, buy, and be proud of who you are, because we are proud of you. So
At Meadowbrook, we like to give back to the service members. We're big into the police departments and the firemen and the veterans.
Mhm.
You know, we like to give back to them. So
It's so important that we take care of our veterans.
Right, absolutely.
100%.
We just joined forces with the United War Veterans Council of New York to do seminars and to go to some of the military bases and to teach these young men and women how to get themselves prepared to buy a house. Because
I think it's wonderful.
there's no money down. A lot of
Mhm.
times there's sellers concessions. If they've been injured, there's no funding fee. It's really a great product.
So they can actually buy a property, no money down at all, nothing out of pocket.
I've had clients that have gotten sellers concessions and no money down.
So the sales concession would be to offset the closing costs?
Correct.
Okay. And how does that work so that for the consumer who's listening?
Well, the seller will pay the closing cost. Now, it's not that easy to find a seller like that. You need a motivated seller, whether they're being relocated, whether it's an estate, or whether it's just somebody that's just in a hurry to sell the house that might be willing to pay the closing costs for the
Okay,
buyer.
and the appraisal has to come in as well, is that right?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Mhm. Okay.
And
Very good.
just the fact that they have the eligibility to obtain 100% financing, you know, without mortgage insurance
I'm in
and an
agreement.
unbelievable interest
I think
rate
it's
is-
a wonderful,
it's
wonderful
just
program.
it's
Cheaper than buying a car.
So now, what about credit? What do they need
They're-
to have for
They're
credit
generally
to
at,
get the 100%?
they're generally at 620, but what's interesting about VA loans is where other loans, FHA, conventional, there are guidelines. You have to fit into certain guidelines. But with VA, there is what's called underwriter discretion, which is a real gray area. I mean, an underwriter can look at a file and like the old days and say, you know something, I think this is a good loan and approve it. I mean, we've had some of those done where they just don't fit into exactly
Right.
where they should be, but they were still approved.
So it sounds like it's a little bit more personalized.
It
is.
tends to be, yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And that's why we're trying to reach out to the veterans, just to make them, again, as a learning, you know, as teaching them, so they understand their benefit. Because a lot of them won't utilize their tool.
Mhm.
And it's such a great tool. And
So
such
who,
great asset.
just to clarify, who pre-qualifies the particular veteran? Is it your organization that qualifies it, or is it the VA?
We qualify.
We qualify them.
You qualify.
Yeah, we qualify them. Yeah, the VA just guarantees it.
Okay, I
It
see.
goes to a normal bank.
Right. So the loan is coming from you.
Mhm.
You're just
Right.
having the guarantee of the government that's
Absolutely.
backing it. Explain that, because that's another misconception. They think that they're getting the loan directly from the government, but they're not. They're getting it from the bank.
The government's insuring the loan, so we're essentially lending them the money, and the VA, the government, is insuring that loan. So
They call it guarantee.
Guarantee.
VA is insuring.
Right, okay.
guaranteeing the loan.
See, that's why I have you in the studio, right? Otherwise, I'd be giving out misinformation too. All right. So let's talk about some other programs that are out there. Explain 203K.
203K is essentially another FHA type of loan by HUD. It is a rehabilitation loan. It's a house that maybe
Needs a little TLC.
needs some TLC. Maybe went into foreclosure. They bought a short sale. It needs some work. It allows them. There's two types of 203K loans. One is a streamlined 203K loan that allows them to go to. I think they just upped it, but it was $27,500 without a certified HUD contractor getting involved. Over that, it's a full 203K loan, and HUD will assign a HUD-approved contractor to go through, get estimates, and they could buy that house, rebuild that whole house with the HUD-approved contractor, and take draws from HUD as they go along.
It's great for those zombie houses that are all over Long Island now.
Oh yeah.
You know, even a
Oh, yeah.
fire, if a house burnt down partially, you can buy it like that.
So that's another perfect product for a millennial.
Yeah.
You know, you could find these houses in great areas that are a zombie house, and they could buy it at foreclosure for little money and take out a 203K loan because it's the after appraised value,
Mm-hmm.
and then
So they appraise it on what the value would be
Yes,
after the
that's
work
correct.
is done.
How about the interest rate on that particular loan? Is it different than the conventional loan?
It's, you know what,
Higher
it's higher, I
or
think it's
more
higher than
risk?
your standard FHA, but it's not higher than conventional.
I see.
Yeah, it's in the same
Even
range.
though
Right.
there may be more risk to the bank
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, it's in the same range.
And can you also do that for multifamily dwellings also?
As long as it's owner occupied, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing one for two family. I wasn't sure, and I just realized I'm doing a two family house. Yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of the guys I talk to too, they're buying their first house, millennials, and they're worried about the long-term value of the house, and they want to make sure that they're going to have their job and things like that. So I always say, look, buy a multifamily dwelling, live in one, rent out the other, you have that income
Yep.
coming in. So I think that's a good sector for them to start in, but it's great that they could do a 2 or 3K.
Absolutely.
That's great. So we have Lior Aldad here, and he is a part of our legal corner. And we touched on quite a few different topics here today. And I really just want to get his perspective on everything that we discussed today before we wrap up this show.
Thank you. So I am flattered to be here and to be part of the show, and I think that the show is going to grow, and I'm very much motivated to be a part of the group. Just want to touch base on mortgage tax, which is, before we finish, important for everybody to know the rates, so you have an idea of how much you're paying mortgage tax. So a loan that is not recorded against real property, there is no mortgage tax. The only time the tax is applicable is if the collateral is real property. It could be a condo, could be a multi-family house, could be a commercial loan. But if somebody is lending somebody money and it's not recorded or not against real property, then there's no tax applicable. Similar to the co-op, even though there are discussions coming up, or there have been discussions coming up that the co-op may have a tax, but that's not implemented yet. You should know that the mortgage tax is imposed under New York Tax Law Article 11, and the rate does change from county to county, so it depends on where you are recording the tax. Your tax amount may vary. The tax ranges all the way from as low as 75 cents for every $100 of the principal amount of the loan, all the way to 2.80% in New York City. New York City seems to be in the tri-counties. New York City seems to be the highest ones.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We are giving away your book, so anyone who knows what SEMA is, go ahead and post that on facebook.com/Victoria RIVA. Facebook.com/Victoria RIVA. I'm Victoria Rivadeneira. I want to thank everyone that was here today from Meadowbrook Financial Mortgage Bankers. I know that, again, you took a lot of time to get here and you gave us some great information. Real Estate Talk is heard every Sunday morning at 5 a.m. on New York's AM 710 WOR, and we live stream on 710WOR.com. You can listen anytime at your convenience by going to our podcast at retalkradio.com, and remember to like us on our Facebook page. I have so much information to give out. Real Estate Talk. Thank you. Until next time, I'm Victoria Rivadeneira. Thank you for listening to Real Estate Talk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.